And we turn now to some drama coming out of the Persian Gulf. Now, the UK says it thwarted an Iranian attempt to seize one of its oil tankers. They say 3 Iranian ships attempted to stop the tanker as it was going through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, according to the British authorities, the Iranian vessels were forced back after receiving a warning from a Royal Navy frigate, which was escorting another tanker in the area. Now, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps shot back. However, at these reports calling they're all false, saying there was no encounters between Iranian warships and the British vessels. Now, back to stories at home. In the one case that dominated headlines all week, more details are starting to come out surrounding billionaire Jeffrey Epstein after his indictment on sex trafficking charges. Now, specifically, a lot of speculation is happening around Epstein's private island. Now, this is a place that many have even dubbed Pedophile Island. RT's John Huddy has the full story from Miami.
Jeffrey Epstein's estate is on Little St. James Island. It's in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it's been dubbed by some Pedophile Island, Orgy Island, and Island of Sin for the allegations of abuse and misconduct that went on there. Now, Epstein bought the 75-acre Little St. James in 1998 for about $8 million. He later also purchased the 165-acre Great St. James Island for a reported $18 million in 2016. Both off the southeastern end of St. Thomas, if you look at a map. Little St. James is Epstein's main private residence. He has a mansion there, a helipad, and even a temple-like structure with a golden dome. It's unclear what the structure is used for. Some have said a music room for Epstein, who's classically trained to practice piano. Others for more nefarious motives, though that is just speculation and rumor. The Associated Press reported this week that Epstein's workers on the island had to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and are not allowed to talk about what went on there. But locals from nearby St. Thomas say the island has generated a lot of interest and suspicion among both locals and tourists, both before and now, following Epstein's arrest and indictment on federal charges of sex trafficking and the abuse of minors. And as the fallout continues, so do the questions about the 2008 so-called sweetheart plea deal that allowed Epstein to plead out to lesser state charges in Florida, avoiding more lengthy prison time on federal charges. U.S. Secretary of Labor and former U.S. Attorney in Florida, Alex Acosta, defended the 2008 deal during a press conference Wednesday, saying the Palm Beach State Attorney's Office was ready to, quote, let Epstein walk free, no jail time, nothing. And that's when Acosta said the U.S. Attorney's Office stepped in.
Our prosecutors, as this 2008 article recounts, presented the ultimatum: plead guilty to more serious charges, charges that require jail time, registration, and restitution, or we'd roll the dice and bring a federal indictment. Without the work of our prosecutors, Epstein would have gotten away with just that state charge.
Barry Krischer, the former state's attorney for Palm Beach County in 2008, disputes Acosta's account, however, calling it completely wrong, contending that the U.S. Attorney's Office produced a, quote, 53-page indictment that was abandoned after secret negotiations between Mr. Epstein's lawyers and Mr. Acosta. Now, Acosta has said that more evidence has come to light since 2007 and 2008, perhaps warranting tougher prosecution. Also, Acosta has mentioned in past statements the threat of Epstein's former dream team of lawyers, including famed defense attorney Alan Dershowitz and Clinton special prosecutor Kenneth Starr, who were reportedly described as ruthless and willing to dig into the background and personal lives of the prosecutors and victims. So perhaps that played a crucial role in negotiating the 2008 deal. This as the investigation continues, and Epstein is scheduled to appear in court on Monday. For RT, John Huddy.
To go further in depth, we turn to legal and media analyst Lionel. Lionel, you've been on top of this from the very beginning, and so you probably know this answer. How did an unknown citizen go from being a teacher in Dalton to a multi-billionaire hedge fund manager who owns this very much, I think it was 21,000 square foot mansion with heated sidewalks? I mean, I'm a capitalist, but still, shouldn't there have been some red flags along the way that something just wasn't kosher?
This guy comes out of nowhere, doesn't even have a college education, and Dalton, by the way, is this Upper East Side hoity-toity private school where he teaches calculus or physics or whatever, and out of nowhere, But here's the thing, Scotty. Just because you're rich, per se, there's no red flags. Because in New York and among these circles, as long as you've got money, nobody cares where you got this money from. By the way, does he have an office? Even Bernie Madoff, right here on 3rd Avenue, he had an office. Where does this guy, where did he work? Did he ever act as a hedge fund? Now, this is coming up now after the fact. Scotty, you have no idea how good this case is. It's unbelievable. Anyway, please.
Well, and it's interesting that you bring up the fact that you say it's such a good case, because here's where my concerns are. According to some reports, Secretary Acosta said to the Trump transition team, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone." Yesterday, Secretary Acosta's press conference darted around giving a direct denial or even an answer. So, pending that new information and not denying it, are we ever actually going to see how great of a case this is if it turns out that there was more intelligence involved in the situation than what we know of?
Well, the next time they ask Acosta something, why doesn't he say this? Hey, nobody cared about the fact of who okayed this deal. Alberto Gonzalez, Mueller, Comey. You didn't care about that. And by the way, the state attorney in Florida, this is a guy who thought that we've got to stop at nothing to get Rush Limbaugh. Remember when he had his problems with opioids or whatever it was? So they show this absolutely indefatigable, this full-throated and full-throttled prosecution when it happens to be a Rush Limbaugh. But when it's this guy, well, nobody cared about it. And when Acosta went through his confirmation, nobody brought this up. And here's the best part. Why now?
Right.
Why now? For the first time, nobody's questioned anything about this fellow forever. This was 2008. What happened? Wait a minute, Scotty. Do you think maybe it's President Trump? That's the only thing I can think of that's different from then, when all of these Democrats signed off on it and said, no big deal, what are you going to do? But now it's different because apparently there's a new sheriff in town.
Well, and that new sheriff is getting pegged for his relationship and his friendship in the past with Epstein, obviously not looking at some of the others. But I do have to go back and look at this and say, if this is our intelligence agencies are involved, do you feel like there's a less likely chance that we're actually going to find out the truth? Is there more likely a chance that this is actually going to get buried now?
Well, here's the thing. Not now, because it's open.
Right.
When you heard Berman the other day, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, walk over to a picture of him and said, if anybody watching this had anything to do with this man, you call this number. I don't think they're going to dial that one back. They're definitely making this. But what about Comey's daughter? Right. Comey's daughter's, that's probably not a big deal. And by the way, where's Ken Starr? Dershowitz is in here. Dershowitz is going to be at it with David Boies. Where's Ken Starr? What, the legal eagle? I mean, I don't understand this. This is the guy who went after Clinton? Nobody's talking about him? I mean, Acosta, they're going to throw him under the bus. If I were Acosta, I'd say, let me explain to you again how this
Why isn't he
happened.
doing that, Lionel? That's my question. If there are all of these other names involved, why is he not throwing them? Because ultimately, I'm hearing just as many Republicans. I heard Newt Gingrich say, and Coulter, they're calling for Acosta to resign, and he's not. Democrats are calling for it. Why isn't he naming the rest of the names right now? Because I think in the end, he is going to go down for this, as I do believe he deserves.
Oh, yeah. Don't buy those green bananas there, Acosta, if I were you. No, this guy's history. As we say in the South, that dog don't hunt. Now, this is ridiculous. But if I were to do it, if I were Acosta, I would say and explain what I just told you. I didn't, on my own, decide to cut loose some predator pedophile. This was in the works. And let me go through again all the people who were with this, and nobody said anything about this. Schumer never said anything about it. And by the way, this business about Epstein with Trump, you know, Epstein was a fixture in the Upper East Side here in New York. Everybody from Woody Allen, well, maybe not a good example, Woody Allen, but Katie Couric and people just in general. This guy was a fixture. People loved to go. Mike Wallace. This guy was not, he didn't walk around and say, I'm a pedophile.
Right.
But now they're going to say, hey, guess what? Tell me again, who are these billionaires that you work for? Well, I don't know. That's what I want to know.
I want name some names. Always put the names out there. Thank you so much for Lionel. I'll name your names, but not on a list like this. I'll just name you like on my Christmas card list. Thank you, Lionel, for joining us.
Indeed.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.